We have our first surprise winner of the year on the Korn Ferry Tour, and it only took 2 events to do it. We're on the road to French Lick. Hello and welcome once again to the Road to French Lick, a show chronicling the 2025 Korn Ferry Tour season. I'm Ryan Ballengee. This week on the show we're going to go over the results from the Bahamas Great Abaco Classic at the Abaco Club, and then we're going to go over a preview of this week's first event of 4 in Latin America, the Panama Championship. We'll bring that all together for you with some guests, including Larry the Cable Guy and Ben Higgins of the Bachelor fame, and we'll hear from our winner at the Abaco Club. Let's start with the second event of the season on the Korn Ferry Tour schedule, the second of 26 played, culminating in the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance at the French Lick Resort on the Pete Dye course. But in our second event, Korn Ferry Tour moved from Atlantis Paradise Island over to the Abaco Club on Great Abaco, one of the many islands of the Bahamas, for a second Sunday to Wednesday event. This tournament featured a $1 million purse like they all do in the regular season on the Korn Ferry Tour, with 500 Korn Ferry Tour points to the winner. Coming off of Hank Lebioda winning in a playoff over S.H. Kim at the Ocean Club at Atlantis. This course, the Abaco Club, presented a different challenge. However, the players that had the best chance to win still went way under par. And in the end, we had a surprise winner. Canada's Sudarshan Yellmaraju wound up winning by 5 shots on 25 under 263, beating Russell Knox and Kensai Hirata, who were 20 under par for the week. Yellmaraju is a relative unknown to most American golf fans. He is Canadian. He is Indian by birth. His family immigrated to Winnipeg when he was a young boy and then eventually moved into Toronto. And he's relatively unknown to probably most American golf fans for a couple of different reasons. One, he didn't play collegiate golf. He decided to turn pro instead because he said he didn't get good enough offers as a kid to be able to play collegiate golf where he wanted. So decided to instead chase the professional ranks. Last year he had status on the Korn Ferry Tour but didn't finish high enough in the Korn Ferry Tour point standings at the end of the year to maintain full status by getting into that top 75. Instead, he had conditional status by the thinnest of margins, which allowed him to go to PGA Tour Q School presented by Korn Ferry and earn himself guaranteed starts on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2025. He's now taken full advantage of those. He is a winner on the Korn Ferry Tour. He has 500 Korn Ferry Tour points in pocket, and he has a multi-year exemption on this tour, regardless of what happens the rest of the way. But now he's thinking about getting a PGA Tour card as one of the top 20 finishers in the points list at the end of the year. Let's hear from our winner at the Abaco Club, Sudarshan Yellmaraju.
Feels good that the hard work and all the hours that I've put in, me and my parents, it's kind of paid off. Well, I knew the course was playing, especially when at the beginning it was kind of windy, but it got the wind kind of died a bit, so I knew the guys were going to come out firing and scoring, so I knew I had to just keep going because, I mean, they're pretty good players, so I knew I just had to keep going. And like I said, I just wanted to play good shots, whatever it was. Just wanted to shoot as low as possible, and I think I did a pretty good job. A little bit. I mean, it's natural. If you care, you're gonna be a bit nervous. Yeah, there's tension and all that pressure, all the whatever stuff you want to call it. But I just kept my head down, kept playing one shot. Just wanted to play good shots, and yeah, I wasn't completely calm, obviously, up until once I saw the scoreboard and knew, okay, I had 5-shot lead going into the last hole. I knew I was fine, and yeah, I mean, I felt I was a little nervous, but it was all right.
With his win at the Abaco Club, Sudarshan Yellmaraju earned 500 Korn Ferry Tour points, which is standard for a winner on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2025, and that moved him to second place on the points list at 500 points even. He missed the cut in his first event at Atlantis. Hank Lebioda, who made a great run at going back-to-back in the Bahamas, still tops the charts. He is number 1 on the points list with 571 points. Russell Knox, on the back of a couple of good weeks in the Atlantis and Abaco events, is 3rd on the points list at 313 points. S.H. Kim, who finished playoff second place to Lebioda at Atlantis, is in 4th place at 300 points. And Kensai Hirata, who was joint runner-up at the Abaco Club with Russell Knox, is in 5th place at 245 points. This week, the Korn Ferry Tour starts a 4-event run through Latin America with events in Panama and Bogota back-to-back, 2 weeks off, and then head back to Argentina and Chile to round out the stretch, which will get us through 6 events of 26 on the season. However, there are only 22 regular season events to qualify for the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. So after this 4-event run, which will lead us into a run through the mainland United States for most of the rest of the way, that's going to put a lot of pressure on players who need to earn points, who may have not earned points in the first 2 events, and get up to snuff for those players who may have run out of guaranteed starts by the time we get through 8 starts or 12 starts in the Korn Ferry Tour season. The first stop is the Panama Championship, a long-standing event on this tour. It's played at Club de Golf de Panama in Panama City, Panama. It's one of the more difficult courses that players will see every year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Scoring is typically quite difficult here for a variety of reasons, but the 2 most difficult holes on this golf course are the 7th and 11th holes. The 7th hole plays about 460 yards. It's a challenging par 4 for any of the players in the field. It is by far the hardest hole on the course in most years that the tournament is played here. And then switching to the back 9, the 11th hole is 499 yards, a very demanding par 4 for these players. It plays a little bit less relative to over par compared to the 7th hole, but still asks a lot of the players, and a good number of the par 4s on this golf course ask a lot of players for difficult conditions, difficult scoring. Typically we see scores that win in the 10 to 12 under par range, although we've had years where single digits under par can win this tournament. So a lot of being asked of the players this week, and we often see players who win here kind of win out of nowhere. That also happens because this is relatively early in the schedule. Then after that, as mentioned, this tour will move to Bogota, Colombia for another long-standing event. Then they'll come back for 2 weeks off. Then they'll travel back to South America. They'll play in the Argentine Open, one of the longest-running national championships in the world. And then they'll complete the swing with the Astara Chile Classic in Chile. So, all told, this is the kickoff to a very important stretch of tournaments, and there's a lot to play for in these 4 events. We have 2 guests for you this week on the road to French Lick. Our Brendan Sweeney was down in Orlando, Florida at Lake Nona Golf and Country Club for the LPGA season opener, the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions, and he was there to speak with a couple of players in the celebrity portion of this unique tournament, including Larry the Cable Guy and former Bachelor Ben Higgins. Let's listen to both as they talk with Brendan Sweeney.
Hilton Grand Vacations, on Celebrity Pro-Am.
Yes, sir.
So you've been a steward of the game of golf, but you took another path. You've chosen a little Korn Ferry Tour action. Tell us about Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon Crick is a guy I sponsor out of McCook, Nebraska. Good kid, great kid, man. I love him. Nice family. Man, he's come so close the last 3 years. This is Brandon's year. He's gonna do really well this year. I think he's gonna get his PGA card this year. Great player. He's comfortable now. You know, you got to be somewhere for a while. You feel comfortable at it. All these, you know, it's intimidating. So many good players out there, but Brandon's been in there now about, I don't know, 8, 9 years. So 8 years at least, and so he's old school at it. So I'm wishing him luck this year. I'm real proud of him.
We wish you the best of luck out there. Thanks for doing what you do, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Yeah, Brandon will be out there. He'll have the PXG on the side to get her done on the front. So you'll see who he is. Get her done.
Ben, my Bachelor buddy, what's going on?
I'm pumped to be here. Look at this. Beautiful.
So you got a big trip coming up this spring. Where you be heading to?
Yeah, so I've always dreamed of bringing 40 friends together from all stages of life, from like middle school to the Bachelor world to now like adulthood. We're going to French Lick, and it is the perfect spot for us. It's in Indiana, my home state, where I'm from, and this place is gorgeous. Everybody's so excited. From all over the country, we're coming to the French Lick.
So tell us about the Celebrity Pro-Am. You're on the circuit. You meet some great people in these Pro-Ams.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of your fun experiences out here.
I mean, it's crazy. My dad's always my caddy, and there's many moments where we're walking the fairway with people I grew up loving, watching on television, following in sports, cheering for, sometimes cheering against, hearing the stories. But then the coolest part for me is playing alongside the LPGA. These players are incredible. They're so focused. It's so fun to learn from them. I think I play better because I get to watch them and their tempo and their pace. It's such an incredible event, an amazing opportunity I never would have dreamed I had, but these are always very special.
You have a special day coming up in a couple of weeks. Tell us
Yeah.
what's happening to your family.
My first child, little girl, is going to be born here in about 2 weeks. So I'm pushing it, being here with my wife and I both talk, and how cool would it be for me to enjoy this experience that means so much to me, and then go back home, have our first baby, and be ready to be a dad.
Well, as a father myself, enjoy this next 10 days because the rest of your life is going to be upside down. Have a great week, man. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Brendan Sweeney joins me. He is at the 18th hole at Lake Nona Golf and Country Club site of this week's LPGA Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. It's their season opener down in his home of Orlando. We are going to talk about the Korn Ferry Tour, though, and we kick off with the Bahamas Great Abaco Classic, which was the second of 2 events played in the Bahamas back-to-back to start the season. Canadian Sudarshan Yellmaraju pulled away for the win, and that was a very unexpected victory. Winds up pulling away by basically a half dozen shots and goes from a guy who has some guaranteed starts through Korn Ferry Tour Q School, PGA Tour Q School, now finds himself with a multi-year exemption on the Korn Ferry Tour and is second in the points list.
Yeah, I mean, last year he played in like 5 or 6 events. This year didn't make a cut, and all of a sudden he comes out and wins on a second shot out there. Congratulations to him. And self-taught kid, how to play golf, and off and running he goes.
Yeah, pretty interesting little bio back and forth about him. He moved to Canada at a relatively young age. He didn't attend college because he didn't get good enough offers to go to either Canadian or American universities to play golf. Effectively a self-taught kid, and he found his way here. I mean, last year he wound up, like you said, had status on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, didn't play very well, barely squeaked out conditional status that would get him in to Q School, kind of free him up for that, get some guaranteed starts, and now he's, again, second on the points list behind Hank Lebioda, who I want to mention as well. He gave a really good run in the Abaco event, won the first event in Atlantis where we were. It gives himself another chance to win. Kind of fell back a little bit on Sunday, but he's got 570 points. Based on some conversations that we've had with folks at the Korn Ferry Tour, they figure it's about 1,000 points.
Yep.
To get your Korn Ferry Tour card out in that top 20. So it's more than halfway there after 2 events.
Well, he's halfway there after 2, but I tell you what, a lot of guys that, shockingly enough, are throwing up goose eggs already. You know, they're 2 in already. They're heading to Panama this week, and you know, I'm just trying to think of like Doc Redman off the top of my head. You know, he finished well last year at French Lick. He missed it by a couple shots, but you know, he's got 0 points. Goose egg. Joe Weiler, who we just signed up at French Lick, he's got a goose egg as well. So, I don't know. You look at someone like Russell Knox, who's been a grinder on the tour for years, and last week had a knockout week. Now he's number 3 in points. So, anything could happen any given week on the Korn Ferry Tour, and you just got to keep on grinding out there. So, we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, really interesting mix in the top 5, as you mentioned. 2 former PGA Tour guys in Russell Knox and S.H. Kim, who lost the playoff to Hank Lebioda at Atlantis, and then you've got Lebioda, who had his first Korn Ferry Tour win, and Yellmaraju, who we didn't know his name 12 days ago, and now he's a winner on tour. So
still hard to pronounce.
Things can happen so quickly on this tour, but there's also a lot of time if you have a full season's worth of starts. If you're in that guaranteed starts group of maybe you only get 8 guaranteed starts, 12 guaranteed starts, if you didn't play well in these first 2, you might be starting to panic a little bit, because if you don't play well in the next 6, then you're in deep trouble for the rest of the year, and you're already thinking about Q School.
Yeah, Monday qualifying, anything to get it done. Sponsor exceptions, start write those cards and letters to your sponsors. And those numbers have been reduced over the years too. So with the cards going down from 20 to 30 to get in a Q School, it's getting heated out there really quick, and there's 26 events. And if you don't score well early, you're fighting uphill out the rest of the way.
You mentioned Panama. Panama is the start of this swing for the Korn Ferry Tour through Central America and South America, Latin America, depending on how you want to frame it all. But Panama is a long-standing event, and these next 4 events aren't going to be on TV, but this basically gets us to the beginning of the stretch. They'll get us to the quarter post of this season. Right. These events are really important, and they're a little bit different. The Bahamas events have their own flavor to it, right? Island golf, that's its own thing.
Tons of wind.
In Central and South America is its own thing, too. Lots of tight golf courses amid the 4 tournaments we're about to see in about the next month and a half.
And Panama has a really strong history of golf as well. Sam Snead had a tournament down there in the 50s. Sam Snead was a past champion, so hopefully they could bring some excitement down to the people in Panama.
Yeah, and then after Panama, we go to Colombia. Then you take a couple of weeks off. So those are back-to-back. Then you've got the Argentine Open or Argentina Open, depending on how you want to say it. And then after that, they go into Chile for the Astara Chile Classic, and that rounds out that stretch before coming back to America. But these guys are putting on the miles early on in the season to try to get these points that'll set them up for the rest of the way.
It's going to be an exciting run, and with everything coming together, the playoffs will be here. I mean, we're 2 months in. We're going to be about a month and a half into the season, and the race has begun. So off and running, Ryan. That's what we're doing, buddy.
And then I know it's only just about February, but October comes here before
I'm getting sunburned right here.
And hopefully all that snow that we talked about a couple weeks ago at French Lick goes away real quickly, get the course in playing condition, get things moving toward the fall, which is incredible up there. I mean, summer is great as well, but it's going to be the best time of year. But keep that in mind for folks paying attention now. That is the end goal. You got to get to French Lick to give yourself a chance to win one of those 20 tour cards or get yourself full status for next year. So the race is well underway. Brendan, thanks for doing this. Thanks for popping down to Lake Nona. Say hi to the LPGA for us, and we'll talk soon.
All right, bud. Thanks. Take care.
Now we take a look at 2 holes on the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort in French Lick, Indiana, home to the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance. This week we focus on the 3rd and 4th holes on the property. The par 5 3rd hole, which presents a challenging tee shot as well as an exacting second shot if you try to go for the green in 2. And then the par 3 4th hole, which will ask a lot of you to not hook the ball left. Here's Will Haskett with more.
Hole number 3 is a real 3-shot par 5. And again, there are some large bunkers lining the right-hand side of the fairway, but there's also a steep drop-off that threatens players on the left. So accuracy off the tee is certainly a premium. Even the longest of hitters will be doubtful of their chances at reaching this hole in 2 shots. The best approach angle is from the fairway bunker at the turn of the fairway. It's approximately 140 yards from the green. The battle is far from over once you reach the green. While this is one of the bigger greens on the course, it also plays as one of the trickiest. Hole number 4, a mid-range par 3, is a great hole here at the Pete Dye course, so long as you don't miss long or left. Definitely some beautiful scenery in the background, especially from the top tier of tees.
That'll do it for us this week on the road to French Lick. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to us on social media and download the Golf News Net app on Roku. You can watch us on GNN TV regularly every single week as we present new episodes on the road to French Lick. We'll be back with another episode after the first 2 events of this Latin America swing from Panama and Colombia, and we'll recap those events then. For Brendan Sweeney and for everyone at the French Lick Resort, I'm Ryan Ballengee. For everyone at Golf News Net, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the road to French Lick.